Let's take a deep dive, folks. Perhaps Donald Trump's only discernible platform that he talks about in all of his various speeches is that if he were to be elected, he would free the January 6th insurrectionists, who he says protested peacefully and patriotically, who he calls hostages, and who he has created a song with where they have changed the lyrics of our national anthem and turned it into the spirit of J6th, and it is the January 6th anthem, which is played instead of our own national anthem. I want to take a deep dive with you, though, and I want to give a hat tip to an organization called Just Security for posting a lot of this information. So when Donald Trump talks about freeing the prisoners in the D.C. jail, when Donald Trump talks about pardoning them, when Donald Trump plays the song that he made with them, what are we actually talking about? Who are these people that Donald Trump and the Republican Party embrace? Who are the heroes of the Republican Party? Well, for example, on March 22nd, Donald Trump posted this, but I can show you dozens of posts like this, but I'll just show you one from March, where Donald Trump writes the 600th day of their nightly vigil outside the D.C. jail from Mickey Whithoft, who's Ashley Babbitt's mother. And this is a D.C. prayer vigil on what they call the hashtag Freedom Corner. Stand in solidarity with our January 6th political prisoners in the D.C. jail as we honor their bravery. So who are these individuals who Donald Trump is posting about and praising, who he calls great patriots, the types of people who he wants to embrace, who the Republican Party embraces? Well, this is an important new analysis from Just Security, and Ryan Goodman made this post. And so when Donald Trump talks about this vigil, who are these people that this vigil is dedicated to? Well, almost all of them, 27 out of 29, are charged with assaulting law enforcement officers. So take a look at these individuals right here who the Republicans have embraced. You see the photos of them right here. Here are the people who Donald Trump created a new version of our national anthem with. Let's take a look at some of these individuals, shall we? How about D.C. jail January 6th inmate Daniel Ball? Ball is charged with several felonies and misdemeanors. The felony charges include assaulting law enforcement officers by allegedly throwing an explosive device that detonated on at least 25 officers. How about D.C. jail January 6th inmate David Dempsey? Dempsey is charged with felonies, including assaulting law enforcement officers with bludgeoning weapons or projectiles and mace-like agents. How about D.C. jail January 6th inmate Scott Miller? Miller, a member of the Proud Boys, pleaded guilty to a felony of assaulting law enforcement officers using a dangerous weapon. How about D.C. jail January 6th inmate Christopher Quaglin? Quaglin, reportedly a Proud Boys associate, was found guilty of 14 charges. His 12 felony convictions include assaulting law enforcement officers, using a dangerous weapon, and inflicting bodily injury on officers. How about D.C. jail January 6th inmate Gregory Yetman? Yetman is charged with felony offenses of assaulting law enforcement officers and obstructing of law enforcement during civil disorder. How about those individuals? And I can go on and list you more and give you a further analysis, but why don't I just share with you now that you know the types of people that we are dealing with here. Now let me show you this. This is Donald Trump at the beginning of all of his events, where he says that he's given the spirit to the January 6thers, who he calls hostages, and he's created a new version of the national anthem, who he's recorded the song with. Here, play this clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
Oh, say can you
by the way, you know that anthem that you just heard where Donald Trump described, he's copyrighted his own version of the national anthem with changed lyrics that he created with the January 6th insurrectionists. He manipulated our national anthem. The person who's in the January 6th anthem that plays at these rallies is the same person who battered Officer Sicknick, who later died of his injuries. This is Officer Sicknick's brother right here, who talks about how that recording that you just heard is actually also being sung by the person who battered his brother, who is now deceased. Here, play this clip.
He's now celebrating the events of January 6th. I mean, he's talking about pardoning those who were convicted of crimes related to the January 6th insurrection. He's calling them hostages. At his rallies, he plays a recording of the January 6th defendants singing the Star-Spangled Banner. I wonder how you react when you see the president celebrating that day, not even running away from it, but now celebrating it.
He's disgusting, but I know I'm not going to change anybody's mind. By the way, the video that came out along with those people singing the national anthem, the person who picks up the phone in a prison is the very same person who assaulted my brother.
Really? That's amazing. The same person.
By the way, let's take a look at some of the other individuals who were in the D.C. jail who Donald Trump and all of the MAGA Republicans praise, shall we? How about Zachary Allen? You see Zachary Allen right there. And Zachary Allen said, quote, "I'm going to F you up," shouting to the U.S. Capitol Police. Allen was found guilty of 8 felonies, including assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers using a dangerous weapon, as well as several other misdemeanor offenses. He was seen leaping through a window and shouting that the rioters needed guns. How about Farhad and Farbood Azari? In January, Farhad and Farbood Azari, a father and son duo, pled guilty to the felony charge of assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers with deadly or dangerous weapons, as well as 1 count of civil disorder. According to the Department of Justice's summary, Farhad and Farbood repeatedly confronted law enforcement officers and helped break down fencing and bike racks that obstructed the mob. Farhad was one of the first rioters to enter the Capitol during the breach. Keep going through some of these other people. How about Dominic Box? After hearing the president speak, "I'd rather be on this side than the other." Box was originally charged with 4 misdemeanors. After Box reportedly rejected a plea deal, prosecutors added 3 felony counts, including obstruction of an official proceeding of Congress and 2 counts of civil disorder. Stephen Cappuccio, Fight for Trump. In November 2023, Cappuccio was sentenced to 85 months in prison after previously being convicted of 6 felonies, including assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers using a dangerous weapon. I could keep going on and on and on. I think you get the point. So when you see Donald Trump being interviewed and he talks about, pardoning the Proud Boys and things like, here, play this clip of Trump.
Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in jail. Now that you know what the sentence is, 22 years in jail, will you give him a pardon? Will you give other Proud Boys a pardon?
I don't know him. I never met him. I never heard of him until I started reading this stuff.
Will you pardon him?
But I want to tell you, he and other people have been treated horribly.
Will you pardon him?
In Minneapolis, I'd certainly look at it. I'd look at that, and I'd look at all the other people that have suffered, the J6 people.
I mean, seriously, people. I mean, seriously. This is the United States of America. All right? I mean, I want to end this YouTube video with a cleanse right here. Let me show you what President Biden said about January 6th insurrectionists and about our democracy. Here, play this clip.
His first rally for the 2024 campaign opened with a choir of January 6th insurrectionists singing from prison on a cell phone, while images of the January 6th riot played on a big screen behind him at his rally. Can you believe that? This is like something out of a fairy tale. bad fairy tale. Trump began his 2024 campaign by glorifying the failed violent insurrection on our Capitol. The guy who claims law and order sows lawlessness and disorder. Trump's not concerned about your future, I promise you. Trump is now promising a full-scale campaign of revenge and retribution, his words, for some years to come. They were his words, not mine. He went on to say he'd be a dictator on day one. I mean, if I were writing a book of fiction, and I said an American president said that, and not in jest. He called, and I quote, the termination, quote, this is a quote, the termination of all the rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the U.S. Constitution, should be terminated if it fits his will. It's really kind of hard to believe. Even found in the Constitution, he could terminate? He's threatened the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with the death penalty. Says he should be put to death because the chairman put his oath to the Constitution ahead of his personal loyalty to Trump. This is coming from a president who called, when he visited cemeteries, called dead soldiers suckers and losers. Remember that?
So yes, when Donald Trump makes all of those posts, what he is saying is that he sings the songs. It's with the most violent insurrectionists, the most violent rioters. I mean, people who are basically indistinguishable in terms of the types of language that they use as the types of language that we saw with Timothy McVeigh. Here, take a look at this. Let me share this with you. I'm going to read you right now a Timothy McVeigh quote, Oklahoma City bomber. And tell me that this quote doesn't sound like the types of things that you would hear right now be said from MAGA. Ready? Quote, the government is afraid of guns people have because they have to have control of the people at all times. Once you take away the guns, you can do anything to the people. You give them an inch and they take a mile. I believe we are slowly turning into a socialist government. The government is continually growing bigger and more powerful, and the people need to prepare to defend themselves against government control. That's Timothy McVeigh when he drove to Waco, Texas during the Waco siege, which, by the way, is exactly where Donald Trump held his first rally of the campaign for 2024. Trump held it in Waco on the 30th anniversary of Waco. Think about that. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers here at the MeidasTouch Network.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.